Growing up, man, I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas. We grew up in the projects in Wyandotte County. And when I was a little bitty fella, I got 11 brothers and sisters. And my brother that's a year older than me, my two older brothers that are older than me, they were already athletes, okay? And so when we were young, my mom and dad split up, and he went to Chicago, and we stayed in Kansas City. And so in the summertime, we would go see my father. He'd come down from Chicago and get us and drive us back to Chicago. I hated it. And we would play in the park. And my brother, his name was the oldest, but we call him Preacher. That's his nickname, Preacher. So Preacher be like doing pull-ups and sit-ups and running and flipping and all this other stuff. And me, I was just an average dude. But I was impressed with what he was doing. And so one day I was like, yo, bro, can you show me how to do pull-ups and sit-ups and push-ups and all this other stuff? And so he started showing me how to do all this stuff. And we're in the park playing, and he's showing me how to do push-ups and sit-ups and everything. And so as life went on, got into my grade school, and started doing sports in grade school like basketball and baseball and stuff like that. And then once my grade school career ended, I got into junior high. Now, once I got into junior high, I was already lifting weights, and I joined the track team and in the wrestling team. But I was in the seventh grade, so they wouldn't let me play football, but they would let me practice. Right? Back then, you couldn't play until you got in eighth grade, and so I was on the track team. I was on the wrestling team, and I was on a football team, but I couldn't play. But I practiced, so they made me a manager. So I was a water boy. But the very next year, I got to start playing, okay? And I got into weights and all that good stuff. And once I learned how to work out, and that's when everything changed. I mean, I back in the day, they used to have these magazines with the old black and white pages. The Atlas guy, what's his name? It was in black and white. I think his name was Atlas. It wasn't Tony. It was another guy, but it was Atlas, some kind of Atlas guy back then. And I was like, oh man, he looks good. And they'd had pictures in there, guys working out, and then you mimic what you see. And so I'd go to the old Y up the street from my mom's house. I'd go to the Y and I'd work out. Back then they had all this old equipment. I'm talking about the pulleys and the thing that's rolling with the wood things on it. I don't know if you ever seen them, but they supposed to move fat off of you. That's how far back this was. And so I learned how to get in shape, because I was a little flabby at the beginning. But once I learned how to get in shape and started doing those sports, when I was younger, I used to watch wrestling. It came on Channel 41 in Kansas City every Thursday night, live, 8 o'clock. And I used to watch, back then, Harley Race was in the territory, and Bulldog Bob Brown and Rufus R. Jones, just a lot of stars, And the main person that I used to really got me interested was Harley Race. I mean, this guy was amazing. Now, when it comes to champions, Harley Race was the best. I don't give it. Flair wasn't. Anybody that won the belt, they wasn't the best. Harley was the best. Why? Because back then, Harley went all over this planet wrestling people. He just didn't wrestle them in freaking the States. He went all over the freaking planet wrestling people and winning, okay? But he's the reason why I got into wrestling business, Harley Race. I was watching him one day when I was a kid, and I said, damn, I want to do that when I grow up. Even though I played high school football, ran track, amateur wrestling in junior high and high school, was All-American in all these three sports, wrestling was what I wanted to do for a career. Now, my mom wanted me to play pro ball. I didn't want to play pro ball, man. I could have, you understand? I mean, I had letters from all kinds of pro teams, man. But I wanted to be a professional wrestler. Now, when I told my mom that I didn't want to play pro ball and I want to be a professional wrestler, she damn near lost her mind. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, but I think I can be good at it, mother. I think I can be good at it. And so, growing up, my family, it was we went to church every Sunday. My mom, growing up, we went to church every Sunday. The whole family. We load up in the car and she'd take us all because my uncle was a preacher and a deacon, and we as kids, that's what we grew up on. So we knew how to pray and we knew how to talk to the Lord and all that good stuff. And so growing up, I that's what I used to do. I'd pray to the Lord, hey, Lord, I want to be a wrestler, blah, 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 And I ended up, in high school, I was All-American 3 sports, wrestling, track, and football. And I was highly recruited in football as a blue chipper. I was all parade, McDonald, all of them, All-American in football. So I was highly recruited. And so, I went to these 5 different schools that you pick out. But in the back of my mind, it was still wrestling, right? Now, here I was a junior in high school. I was a senior. Yeah, I was a senior in high school. And one of my visits was to go to K-State because they were playing Oklahoma. And at the time, Dr. Death Williams was playing for Oklahoma, and he wrestled too. And so I said, I'm going to go to that game so I can talk to him, see if I can how I get in the business. I had a plan, man. And so that day came, and I went to K-State. They played them at home in Manhattan, Kansas. And so here I am on the freaking turf in the end zone with other recruits, walking around, looking at all the guys warm up and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I got to get down there and see if I can talk to him real quick. So I moseyed on down to where they were stretching, see? And I said, I got to find Steve Williams. There he is. So I moseyed on down where he was, and I said, yo, Steve, how you doing, man? Because I was supposed to go to their school the following week for a visit. I was supposed to go to Oklahoma. But I got to Steve, and I was like, hey, man, my name's Curtis Hughes, man. I'm recruiting. I'm supposed to go to visit Oklahoma next week, but I'm interested in becoming a wrestler, man. Can you help me out a little bit? Tell me what I need to do. And I said, I'm from Kansas City, blah, blah, blah. He goes, Kansas City. He goes, yeah, there's a guy. He's sitting there stretching. He goes, there's a promoter in Kansas City named Bob Geigel. Look him up. Didn't think about it. So right before my last year, I kind of inquired to talk to Bob Geigel. I got the number, called the office, because every night, every week, every Thursday on the shows, they would tell you, the address to NWA office, and then the phone number would be up there. And so I got that, right? And so one day I just up and called. Now, I was highly recruited, mind you, from Iowa, all of them. Every college you can imagine, I was highly recruited. And Iowa was one of the main ones that wanted me. I almost went there too. And I didn't notice at the time, but Bob Geigel went to Iowa. He wrestled at Iowa, okay? And I didn't know he followed my career because I was on TV all the time, on the news, because I was like a good athlete, playing football and all that good stuff. So I was on the news all the time. So he knew who I was. So when I called Geigel and told him, hey, my name's Curtis Hughes, I'm interested in becoming a wrestler. He goes, yeah, hey, how you doing, Curtis? I know who you are. I've been checking you out. I've been watching you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, damn, really? And so it broke the ice right off the bat. And so he told me, he goes, so are you still in college? What are you doing? I was like, I'm almost done. He goes, well, when you get done, just get back with me and we'll work something out. I ain't lying, man. It was, the good Lord blessed this one so easy. I tell people you got to pray, man. Because if you want to get blessed, you got to pray and ask the Lord for stuff. And so that's what I did. I prayed about this, man, and it happened so easily. Once I got done in college, right before I got done, I called him and I was like, hey, I'm finishing up, blah, blah, blah. Now, at the place where they used to do shows every Thursday, it's called Memorial Hall in Kansas City, Kansas, right? Downtown Kansas City, Kansas, Memorial Hall. And he goes, yeah, meet me up there at such a time, bring you something to work out in. And we'll talk, And so, man, I couldn't sleep for a week, because I was excited, right? Now, the whole time I didn't talk to him. We didn't mention no money. I didn't ask about how much it's going to cost for me to be a wrestler or how much it's going to cost to get trained. So finally that day come and I go to Memorial Hall. And I go inside and I was like, wow, man, this is a place where all these freaking old timers used to wrestle. You know, it smelled like old popcorn that they didn't popped, you know, and old cigarette smoke, you know, from the old days. I mean, I never forget it. And I remember seeing Andre there when I first seen him, how big he was, you know. And I was amazed. Here I am in the same building. So anyway, finally some other people came in, some other guys that was going to talk to him about being trained. Big Steve Ray, he was one of them. And then Big Brian Clark, he was another guy. You know, Adam Baum, we trained together too. And he came in, and I'm going like, damn, who's these big old dudes, right? You know, we met each other, blah, blah, blah. And so Geigel's talking to us about, you know, how we're going to do this, blah, blah. Now, back then, they used to really monitor you. I mean, the business was sacred back then. You just couldn't get in. So they were just making sure that you were really wanting to get in. And so what they did before we started training, Sonny Myers had introduced me to this other guy. His name was Steve Estes. And they said, all right, you're going to go meet Steve Estes. And he's going to take you through some stuff. So it gave me Steve Estes' phone number. He was another wrestler. He was like one of the lower wrestlers on the totem pole there. Jobber, you might say. So they sent me up. So I called him and he gave me his address and I had to meet him over at his house. Now, I'm thinking we're going to go to a wrestling gym somewhere and work on some stuff. No, we didn't do that. We was in his living room working on holds and counters and shit. I'm going like, what the hell is this? Well, what they were doing is to see if I was really wanting to be a wrestler, see, because they didn't want to just throw me in there and start teaching me stuff and then find out about the business and then tell everybody in the world, hey, wrestling's a work, you know. Back then, it was totally different. And so I passed that test. And once I passed that test, Steve Estes calls Geigel and said, he's good. He's good to go. You ain't got to worry about him. He really wants to do this. And then that's when they said, you know, go back to Memorial Hall the following week and they're going to start your training. And so that's when my training started, is at Memorial Hall, man. But Harley Race was the one that got me interested in wrestling. Now, once I got trained, it didn't take me long to get trained because I used to watch it all the time when I was a little bitty fella. And I recommend you young people out there, if you're interested in being a professional wrestler, you make sure you look at some old school stuff on YouTube. Don't look at the new stuff. Look at the old stuff because you want to be able to do the old school style wrestling. Okay, once you learn the old school style wrestling, you can do any kind of wrestling you want, but that's going to get you in the door. Like when I train my trainees, I tell them, I train you to get you in the door. Once you get in the door, you do whatever they tell you once you sign that contract because they're paying you, okay? Like for example, some of them lock up different in WWF. I call it WWF. It's always WWF to me. Some of them lock up different compared to the way I train, see? And the thing is, you know, locking up is about relaxing and all that stuff. You can't just be stiff as a pipe because you can't. If you want everything to look fluid, and the guy's stiff as a pipe, the match is going to be garbage because the guy's not going to feel comfortable working with you because he's going to feel you green as crap. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean to go too far off this way. Let me get back over here about the reason why I got in professional wrestling, which was because of Harley Race. And the dream come true for me was once I started at Memorial Hall in the NWO school days, Harley used to come in there. See, he used to come in and talk to us and everything. And I'm sitting here going in awe because I'm going, man, this is the guy here. This is the man for me. Harley was the man for me. And so once I got trained and Geigel started putting us on the road, because we had a little territory in Kansas City called Central States, okay? And we hit like, you know, Missouri, we'd hit Jefferson City, we hit St. Joe, Missouri, you know, just hit all the central states around Kansas and Missouri. And one day Geigel says, hey, you got a gig in Omaha with, you're wrestling Harley. And when he told me I was wrestling Harley, man, I had to pinch myself and go, no way. Because this is my guy right here, you know what I mean? And we rode together, see? Told me what time he was leaving. I met him at Memorial Hall. We got in the car and we headed to freaking Omaha, Nebraska, right? And on the way, he's educating me on wrestling, educating me on the game. That's how I do my students too, man. The wisdom he gave me, I give them too, man. Because you can't just get this stuff. You got to get it from somebody else. They got it from somebody else. You understand? That's why I pass it on to somebody else, man, so they can experience this wrestling thing. It ain't just about getting in there and doing stuff. You got to get taught the business. You got to get taught everything about professional wrestling. You got to get taught the history of it and why you do it a certain way and why it's got to be done that way all the way through. You can't just because a new company pops up and they're doing it different. It's still professional wrestling, man. You know what I'm saying? And so that night when we get to the building, I mean, I'm nervous. My butt was puckering like crazy. I'm nervous as hell. You understand? And as I get to wrestle my freaking hero, Harley Race, man. And here we are in the back, and he kept it so simple. He kept it so simple because he knew I was green. But I had graduated to his shows outside the school. Back then, once you got trained real good, they went ahead and let you go work with a veteran. And the veteran was the pilot. He was the one that was carrying you through. And you didn't get ahead of him. Because if you did, you was gonna learn the hard way, like I did working Bulldog Bob Brown one night at Memorial Hall. My mom was there. That was her first match. She had came to see me wrestle. And I got in a hurry, you know, because back then they tell you, don't get in a hurry. Let me be the pilot. Let me just listen, you know. And I got in a hurry. Bulldog Bob Brown, if you ain't never heard of him, look him up. He was a real old school heel, and he looked like it too. And he had heat back then. I mean, he was a damn good heel, and he was the one I had to wrestle. Back then, I was a babyface. Called me, you know, Curtis the Cat Hughes, right? And so I got in the ring with him, and I'm starting to get comfortable, and I started getting in a hurry, and I started doing stupid stuff. And so what he did, he goes, "Slow down, kid," and I didn't listen. And so he taught me a lesson. So he threw me out on the freaking floor. Back then, they didn't have no pads, bro. It was all wood. So if you hit that floor and you didn't land right, you was going to bust your ankles or bust your freaking wrist. So I landed right, but he came right after me, gave me a big boot, and gave me a forearm smash, and grabbed a freaking folding chair and bent me over and let me have it. And once he let me have it, he worked it, of course, but he laid it in, though. And once he did that, he goes, "Listen." And after he said that listen part, ever since then, anytime I got in the ring with an old timer, I would listen. I wouldn't say anything. I'd let them call the match. And so when I started doing that, that means I was learning, see? And like I said, a lot of kids today, they want to sit in the back and talk about the match for a whole 2 or 3 hours and go out there and have a total abortion. I teach guys how to wing a match. That's how you did it in the old days, see? So the fans would know that the thing was planned. You know, and I try to teach my students, you know, wing the match. I don't want to hear nobody talking about no matches. We did it all the time at the other place. And, of course, we do it here at the new place with new people. You know, go out here and learn. We teach you how to wing a match. So the fans don't know y'all been back there for 3 or 4 hours talking about, you know, the match. All right, we're going to have a little dance here. You're going to do your thing, and then I'm going to do my thing. Then we're going to get some heat. Then we're going to make a comeback. Then we're going to go home. Bull crap. Just go out there, have the damn match, give them the finish, because that's how I taught these people on that flyer, and him too. I'd give them the finish, and I say, go out there and tell a story. Go out there and have a match. I don't hear y'all talking all this garbage in the back about what you're going to do and what you're going to blah, 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 blah. Some of them did it, you know, probably when I wasn't looking, but it wasn't helping them any, see, because nowadays they do all that now. But to make your match easier and more authentic, it's best just to get the finish and then go out there and learn how to wing a match. That's it. Once you learn how to wing a match, I mean, you can have a match with a broom, man, because you ain't talked about nothing. All you need to know is the finish, and then you're going to tell that story up to the finish, you see?